Hey, this is Shark Boy, and you're listening to another wrestling podcast. Oh, hell yeah.
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
The measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at
the best there is, the best there was, and the best there will be. They got the answers. I change the question. The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
These are the best in the world, brother. These are the best at what they do.
When we talk about the legends of the sport, there's only two in my book.
Another wrestling podcast.
All right. Welcome to another wrestling podcast. I'm Credo.
And I'm the social assassin, Angry Kuter.
This is episode 131. Amazing.
Still not fired.
Still here. Who's joining us today on this lovely podcast that we're about to do?
Well, today, joining us in the studio, we have none other than Shark Boy.
It's Halloween. Who better to have on than a masked wrestler? So
it's too bad we couldn't get Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan on the show.
We were watching it. We kind of compared it to, I think the first thing, anytime a wrestling fan sees a baseball bat with barbed wire on it.
Oh, yeah, it's Foley and Barbie and all that. Listen, man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to say, that episode was so good, I might just have to DVR Hell in a Cell or something.
That's definitely what we're going to have to figure out, too, because we're also going to be talking about Hell in a Cell today. We're going to talk a little bit about NXT that has the well dried up Cooter. We're going to be talking about NXT. Has it lost its luster? All this and so much more today on the show. But Walking Dead, man, it's a perfect wrestling scenario. You have these guys, you got a barbed wire baseball bat. I mean, how could you not like this show as a wrestling fan?
It's funny because the second I saw, Glenn get his head smashed in, which was fantastic. Spoiler alert, sorry. I automatically thought of the I Quit match between Foley and Ric Flair because of, I just remember Flair screaming, I'm going to pop his eye out.
Let me get this straight. Since there's 3 main events coming up, we'll get to that in a minute. If we had another main event this week and we had Negan versus Foley, who's walking out the winner?
Well, there's no question that it's Negan. I mean, you're talking about somebody who's living in the post-apocalyptic world with zombies, and he smashes little heads for fun. Lucille is thirsty.
So much happening. Let's get right into the week that was. Main event. A triple main event, Cooter. What is happening? Did Foley screw the pooch with this one? Because all I'm seeing right now is covered up. They're not the main event. We're going to have 3 main events. All I see is Vince getting so pissed at Foley for saying, hey, Sasha and Charlotte are the main event. And then I could just see Vince being like, no, what? I didn't say that. We're going to have 3 main events. Like, no.
God. It's like, it brings me back to like WrestleMania 8 where it was the first time ever a double main event. The first ever women's Hell in a Cell match ever should be the main event. I think Sasha and Charlotte have definitely stolen the thunder and have the attention of the fans. That was up until, Foley cut his little promo shaking like he had Parkinson's.
Oh my gosh. So he did the old Michael J. Fox and really gave it to everybody out there. And it's like, I think when you're trying to be that, the GM or the commissioner or whatever you're going to be, the authority figure out there, is don't outshine the superstars. Now, Foley, I mean, like he was on like 11 when he should have turned it down to like a 5 or a 6. It's like, we get it. You almost died in a Hell in a Cell. I love you, Foley. But at the same time, man, you got to let these girls show that emotion. That cell is supposed to contain these superstars, and it's like a lot of these matches, they barely need containment, like
Credo, you should care. You're never going to be the same. It will take your soul. It will take your blood.
Exactly. And man, 3 Hell in a Cell matches, a triple main event. There's like 4 matches on the card, so it's like, it sucks for everybody who's not the main event, I guess, this weekend, because
you think that's overkill though? I mean, with 3 Hell in a Cell matches?
It's part of it. It's like, one, they're still trying to push Reigns and say, hey, he's still a main event guy, even though it's for the United States Championship. That ain't a main event championship.
No.
You know what I mean? So, okay, that's not a main event. Just because it's in the cell, that should have just been outside the cell in a regular match, or just mix it up. Throw a ladder in there. You can have a ladder match in there just because it's Hell in the Cell. Just give them something else. And then Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, I can understand having it in the cell, but at the same time, I feel like Jericho's out, overshadowed that whole scenario to where, I don't know. I feel like Kevin Owens isn't getting that fair shake of being that main event guy. And my only other argument about this triple main event is you literally just came up with the Universal Championship weeks ago, and if that isn't on the quote-unquote main event, the last match, what does that say is the main belt for that brand? I mean,
I agree with you.
That knocks it down.
I really think that it only should have been two. You should have had Rollins and Owens and Sasha and Charlotte, and totally should have left Roman Reigns and Rusev, and maybe had some type of a gimmick match as opposed to 3 Hell in a Cells. Because, I mean, even when we had that prior brand split, we had the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. There would be 2 Elimination Chambers, one for SmackDown and one for Raw. Now, I understand that it's just one brand, but I think if they would have just left it at 2, the way it was traditionally done, it would have been great. Because even in the past Hell in a Cells, I can't remember there being 2 Hell in a Cell matches on the card. I mean, I could be wrong. But
ever since Foley sent out the tweet saying Sasha and Charlotte are the main event, literally like hours after that, or maybe the next day or something, it was like, oh, I didn't mean that they were the main event. That, well, you technically can picture whatever you want to be the main event. And it was like, oh, you fucking guy in trouble, because now because you are trying to fix this. And then how do they fix it? A triple main event. Like,
you're in trouble now. He literally fucked that match up twice for them.
Oh man,
once on Twitter and once on Raw. I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna get fired.
I know, I don't see him staying as the commish that much longer. I figured they did that for Holy Foley, but now that's no one's really talking about that anymore. I think he's probably done pretty soon. But regardless, triple main event. Did we really need to go there? Couldn't they just give the women the main event or something? Or does that, like I said, it just kills the Universal Championship then, right? I guess.
I'd have to agree with that, because especially depending on what order these matches go in, because if they put the U.S. title higher up on the card, you're really taking away from Owens and what he's accomplished as a top guy, especially the way you've been involving Jericho in this feud with Seth Rollins. And now, I mean, granted, I don't want to take away from Roman and Rusev's program here, but I mean, come on, this is not a main event. It just should not be. It should be on the card, don't get me wrong. It shouldn't be in a cell, and it shouldn't be considered a main event. I mean, this is a mid-card title. It stays in the middle of the card.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think what a lot of people don't get is that we grew up in the days of, hey, the main event is the last match. No matter what pay-per-view you're watching, no matter what house show you go to, the last match is the main event. Now, through times have changed where WrestleMania has turned into like 7 hours, 5 hours or whatnot. You kind of can't stack the card like that anymore, because you know how they after you have like an epic match, you can't have like another epic match after that, because you're going to kill the crowd out. So after you have like that big epic match, like let's say you had a Hell in a Cell match and it was Undertaker versus Mankind, and after that you can't really follow that. You know what I mean? You can't really just throw another great match on after that because the crowd's dead. I understand to where they stack the cards to where, it doesn't exactly start from, hey, this is the lowest match to the, hey, this is the top match to the main event, to where they kind of have to stagger it a little bit just for the crowd reactions on TV now, and especially how long these pay-per-views are. But come on, there's no triple main event at the end of the day. It's the last match is the main event.
Let's talk a little Brock Lesnar, Credo. Let me explain something to WWE real quick. You're trying to make Brock Lesnar the heel in this program. Obviously, that's the way Heyman was trying to go with his promo, that it's pissing Brock off about all the Goldberg chants. Guess what? Raw was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's where Brock Lesnar is from. You can't turn the hometown guy into a heel in his hometown. It just doesn't work. Even when we go to Cleveland and The Miz comes out, he gets cheered until he heels on the crowd. But this is Brock Lesnar. This is not The Miz. He's not going to get booed in Minneapolis.
Man, what a mistake. Kevin Nash tweeted out right after that, too. He says, always have the heel return to his hometown to castrate the babyface. Welcome back, WCW Guy 101. Guess 12 years was too soon. Ladder match? Question mark. So, who's like, I feel like there's people that know what's going on. And at the same time, you have these other guys in creative that like are just hired and they don't know anything about wrestling. They don't know anything about history. They don't know anything about putting certain people over or something. Like, what is wrong? What is going on with them that like they thought they were going to get this?
It wasn't just Heyman. It was Brock too, because he's sitting there smiling as the crowd is chanting
I know.
Suplex City. I'm like, if you want to heel on the crowd, first of all, Heyman can only get you so far. You have to have Brock get on the mic and heel on the crowd. I mean, even like if the Miz was to go to Cleveland and Maurice is heeling on the crowd, they're still going to cheer for him until he talks. You got to put the cherry on the top of the sundae.
That's it.
He's just standing there giggling. Like, how much did Brock get there to get paid to get cheered by his hometown fans when he's supposed to be getting booed out of the fucking building?
I know, and it's like, let the man talk. Like, I understand Paul Heyman's his mouthpiece, but like he can say a few things. Like, come on, just let him talk. Like, he's talked before, and it's not that bad, but just let him talk for a few seconds or say his piece, and then have Paul Heyman, keep it up and back him up a little bit. But man,
you know what I find so weird about Brock Lesnar is that when he's on WWE cutting promos, he sounds so awkward, right? But when he's, in UFC and he's doing press conferences and answering question after question, he does a very good job. And then he'll even occasionally cut like little mini promos, and he's actually very good. So I think Brock doesn't like to be scripted. If you want Brock to cut a promo and heel over, let him do it naturally. He's got the ability.
Exactly.
I mean, he can make a whole crowd in the UFC hate him in 2 seconds. I mean, he's fantastic at it.
But regardless, Brock versus Goldberg is happening at Survivor Series. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. But at the end of the day, I don't know, maybe there'll be another better promo next week. Other things happen on Raw regardless. Another big thing I want to bring up to you, Curtis Axel embracing being the son of Perfect, just embracing his heritage. Finally, I think more vocally than he ever has. Okay, he lost to Bo Dallas, but even Bo Dallas last week, his character, they're changing a little bit. They're tweaking it a little bit. What were your thoughts on this little promo from Curtis Axel? They gave him airtime, man. They gave him the mic.
You know what? He actually surprised me. I mean, he's always been pretty decent on the mic, but he had some passion. And, especially when you're in your hometown. We had 2 hometown boys here on Raw this week. But, I think that was just a little bit of extra vote of confidence for him to really lay it down. And you know what? I was really impressed with him. And I don't know why Bo Dallas gets the push. I don't get it. I don't get the character, the whole Bo Leave thing. And now it's I'm a heel Bo Leave, like I'm a badass.
Lose the sign. Who keeps telling him to hold that stupid sign? Like, drop it. Like, he's a heel now. Like, just be angry like that. He was fine. What I also found out, though, after this whole thing was that Curtis Axel signs were allegedly confiscated from fans at Raw, which they were tweeting about.
Oh my God.
Okay, so tell me this. Okay, you have, back in the Monday Night Wars, they would confiscate your WCW signs or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then I've heard them about confiscating other kind of signs, but seriously, there's people going out saying, I don't want that Curtis Axel sign, take it away. Like,
yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, our good friend Felicia Rose can go to Brooklyn with a face fuck me Finn sign, but we can't have a pro Curtis Axel sign. This makes sense to who?
like, what was it really ruining the camera shot? Like, it didn't say anything bad too. I think these kids just had like Curtis Axel signs, and man, the guy has first time he probably had fans bring a sign to the show and like they take him away. Like, come on.
Oh God, and that's such a turnoff, especially if it's a young fan. Who wants to root for the hometown boy and support him with a sign. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, and next time they want
it's just too much.
If we ever if we were at a show and they confiscate signs, I'm going to tell them to pay me for what I paid for the sign. Like, they're not going to take my sign until they pay me for it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if it's $1 or $15 or whatever, how much I spent, but fight for those signs, marks out there. Fight for your signs. Don't give them up so easily. I know they're going to threaten you with kicking you out of the building, but they're going to have to physically lift you up to get you out there. So I doubt they're going to do that. So maybe some people actually will stay strong on that. But regardless, cue the music. The TNA saga continues. The only thing you need to know is that Monday is decision day on what could happen to TNA. Does it go to Billy Corgan? Does it go to another company? Does it stay with Dixie Carter? And or does she just go bankrupt? Well, I don't know. A lot of things are in the air. A lot of things are happening. I'm not a fucking lawyer. Go read it online. So, but that's what's happening in the TNA saga. Monday, we're going to find out what happens with all this court stuff.
I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. It's the little engine that could, and it just shouldn't. Just die, TNA, die, please.
Well, at the end of the week, it's been a long week of news. But speaking of TNA, we have one of their most unusual superstars who went by the name of Shark Boy, who's going to swim on in here now to another wrestling podcast.
Give me a shell, yeah.
All right, joining us today, straight from the Deep Blue Sea, is a former WCW and TNA superstar. Shark Boy is in the house. How's it going, man? How you doing?
Hey, good to be here.
Great. If we can go back in time a little bit, you debuted in 1997 in HWA. It was Heartland Wrestling Association, which was run by your mentor, Les Thatcher, who trained you. Can you tell us what it was like starting out? I mean, after all the training, you debuted here. How was it like to start off in pro wrestling there?
Well, for me, it was just a dream come true. Ever since I was about probably 11 or 12 years old, that's what I wanted to do, is to be a professional wrestler. And I was excited to, when I got the chance to start training, to find out that I was actually had a little bit of natural talent for it. And I worked real hard and was excited beyond belief to get a chance to actually wrestle on a show in front of a live crowd. And it was, really a dream come true for me at that point.
Well, fast forward just a little bit more. In the IWA, the Independent Wrestling Association, you unleashed Shark Boy, inspired by a 1995 song, I Come From the Water from the Toadies. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that came about?
Well, I'll tell you, when I first started training, it was actually to be a referee. Due to my size or lack thereof, there weren't a whole lot of smaller guys in the business at the time in 95 when I broke in. And so, I was training to be a ref, but the training itself was not unlike that of a wrestler. So, when we found out that I had a little bit of a natural ability for wrestling, and at some point I decided I wanted to be a wrestler, and I went to Les and I said, I want to wrestle on shows, and the way to do that and still be a referee would be to wear a mask. And so that was where the idea of wearing a mask came from. And I had to come up with a character. I didn't want to just be Mr. X or something generic. I wanted to come up with something that wasn't being done in the business at the time, and heard that song, and it just sort of inspired this idea about, like a superhero coming from the water to sort of fight the bad guys in wrestling. And that's pretty much where the whole thing came from.
Shark Boy took off, and you had a great underground following, which I believe opened the eyes up of WCW at the time, which was one of the top companies then. What was it like going from, say, the minor leagues to the major leagues, if you will? Was there, a big transition?
Yeah, it really was. Again, that was just sort of another dream come true moment, though. It was like, when I got signed with WCW, it was sort of like, I made it. I finally made it. I made it to the big time. Of course, at the time, I picked up my family and moved to Atlanta and started training at the power plant. That was really the biggest difference. Was I was, for the first time in my life, I was living somewhere besides Ohio. And so now I'm living down in Georgia, and I'm kind of rubbing elbows with guys that I've seen on TV. I was training under Paul, Mr. Wonderful Orndorff there. And guys would come in and out of the place all the time, helping to train the younger guys. And so, and then of course, when I started working on the TV, that was a big deal. I hear Shark Boy was getting national exposure on WCW Saturday Night on the Superstation TBS, and that was something that I hadn't had up till then. So, it was a real big difference between, going from the independents to WCW for sure.
In TNA, you had a little bit of a transformation for you where Shark Boy came back with a little bit more of an attitude, you could say, a little stone cold attitude. At what point did you say to yourself, I need to do this with Shark Boy? Because I thought it was hilarious. I loved seeing you every week doing this. How did that come about pretty much?
Well, I'll tell you, the whole thing kind of started, I was overseas in India, and I was over there with Simon Diamond and Sanjay Dutt. And Sanjay, his family's from India, so he sort of spoke the language, if you will. He was familiar with the culture. But Simon and I, it was like we were in a whole different world, and we kind of only had each other to entertain each other and keep each other sane sometimes. And we started talking about who our favorite wrestlers were when we were growing up, and Ric Flair came up right away, one of his favorites, one of my favorites for sure, and he sort of did his Flair impression, and I did mine, and then I said, but who I really like doing an impression of is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I did my Stone Cold for him, and he just lost it. And everywhere we would go, he would say, hey, what would Stone Cold say about that waiter over there? Well, I think he'd say he's a piece of trash, and I would just launch into the character, and we would just crack each other up. And so we get back from India, and Simon goes to Jeff Jarrett. Actually, he went to everybody backstage and had me doing it for everybody, but he went to Jeff Jarrett, and he said, Jeff, you need to hear old Shark Boy do Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I did the impression for Jeff, and it was actually his call. He said, man, we're doing that on TV. That's fantastic. Like, we're going to take that, and we're going to move your character in that direction, and he's going to be talking. For the first time in my career, I was talking. So it was exciting. It wasn't my idea to do it on TV, but I was glad to sort of grab the ball and run with it.
Sure. Now, did you ever have a chance to talk to Steve Austin about that? Did you guys ever talk about that at all?
I've never spoken to him directly, but since I started doing the impression, but the first time I knew anything about that he'd even seen it was Kevin Nash came up to me backstage at one of the tapings. He said, hey, man, Steve digs your stuff. He thinks it's funny. He likes it, And I was like, wow, that is so cool. Just to kind of hear it from the man himself that, he wasn't insulted by it. He could have been insulted. He could have been offended, upset, but he wasn't any of that. He actually was real supportive. He gave a couple of interviews that I heard where he said that he actually enjoyed it. So,
that's cool.
The ultimate tribute right there.
Definitely. Now, do you feel a lot of comedy is missing in today's era? I know everybody wants to be serious all the time, but is there is there room for more laughter, or is it just better in small doses?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think generally speaking, it's better in small doses, but I also think it has to be there. I think wrestling is supposed to be a variety show. Not every match and every feud and every angle can be, just completely serious all the time. I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's supposed to be a little bit of everything. Men, women, singles matches, tag teams, comedy, serious stuff. I think she should mix it all together. I think that's what wrestling is supposed to be, is a variety show.
No, definitely. Now, as an insider looking out, I'm sure you probably heard some of the news and the reports going around with, TNA was on its last legs. They need somebody to buy them. Names being thrown out was WWE and others. What are your thoughts on a business like TNA, which you worked for, almost, having financial troubles now to where they probably almost can't go on, or I don't know. To me, what are your thoughts basically, how a company that you were in could be in its last days as it is? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I'll tell you what, they've buried TNA about 10 times already and said it's dead and gone, and it's still here. So until it's over, I won't believe it until I see it. Let's just put it that way. And I think that there are other possibilities out there besides WWE as far as the company being sold somewhere else and continuing on as in some form. Billy Corgan obviously is the name that keeps coming up a lot in the news. But I'm sure, there may be other potential investors out there. I don't know, but I feel like that would be best for TNA if Billy or somebody like that took over. I think if the WWE buys TNA, that's the last you'll see of TNA, because essentially when they bought WCW, they sort of dismantled it and sold it for parts, and that's, I think, what you would probably see happen if Vince buys TNA.
Definitely, and speaking of WCW, TNA, I think through the years became that number 2 brand, especially when they were on Spike TV. Granted they weren't pulling in the same kind of money or ratings. Will anybody ever be able to do what WCW once did, you think?
Well, that's a great question. You can never say never, especially in the wrestling business. Will another company pop up that poses a real threat to WWE? I don't know. I don't see it happening anytime in the real near future. It seems to me like WWE is sort of trying to create their own competition. We'll split the roster in half. We'll do a Raw versus SmackDown.
Yeah.
We'll come up with our own feeder system with the NXT and see if we just can't get it to be more popular than our main brand, because that seems like that's the way it was trending for a while. It's like they're creating their own competition, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, because at the end of the day, it's all under their umbrella, and whatever money they make, they make it. So
yep, definitely. Now,
that's what it seems like they're doing to me.
Oh yeah, exactly. Now, from wrestler to trainer, you also opened up your own school called the Shark Tank. What was it like for you to become the trainer and not the trainee?
I really enjoyed that. I wanted to do that for a long time. I'll tell you, when I trained though, I hadn't been training a real long time when whenever Les would have to step out of the room, take a phone call, he couldn't be there. A lot of times I would fill in and help train the guys with Les. So it wasn't like I had never been in that position before. But then again, when it's your program, when a thing's named after you and you're the one that's running it, it is a little bit of a different story. But I really enjoyed it. For me, it was a chance to sort of give back to the business and help the next generation of guys. And, hopefully for them, they feel like they got something out of it too. I mean, I hope everybody feels like they learned something. And I honestly, when I was done with the program, what it would be a 10-week program or a 12-week program or something like that. And then what I would do is I would introduce the students to the indie promoters in the area and say, okay, here you go, guys, take what I've showed you. And if they give you a spot on the show, go out there and show them. And I just kind of tried to plug guys into the business, because there's no guarantees in this business. I can't guarantee I can get you a job with WWE or TNA or Ring of Honor or anything like that. But what I can do is introduce you to the people that I've met and the connections I've made, and give you a chance to sort of, make your own way, which is, essentially what we all have to do in this business.
Definitely. Now, a little fun question. How is Dean Baldwin, and have you seen him lately?
Yeah, he comes out about every weekend. He's doing as well as ever. I'll tell you, that's a fun thing that I've had the chance to do too. Not everybody gets a chance to sort of play both sides. I've got a character that's just a super good guy, and then a character that's one of the most villainous characters you can imagine. So it's been a lot of fun to get to do that as well.
Sure. Now you have sons now. When the day comes when they say, "Dad, I want to be a pro wrestler," what does Shark Boy say, or should I say Shark Dad?
No, no, don't do it. Run. No. Whatever it is they want to do, I'm going to help them every in any way I can. My dream was to be a pro wrestler. That may not be Dylan's dream. That may not be DJ's dream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But, whatever their dream is, I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure that they have all the tools that I could possibly give them to succeed. Because that's essentially what I did. I followed my heart, and I want the same for them.
Sure, definitely. Now, did you ever get a chance to work in Shikara or any of the companies like that? I know, because from Shikara to other places like Interspecies Wrestling, I don't think would have existed. Would it be without Shark Boy in our life first? I think you kind of started this whole little thing, and I think now that I think about it now, I feel like that would have been a place for Shark Boy to dominate, something like a Shikara or Interspecies Wrestling. Have you ever had a chance to see what these guys do or work with them?
I haven't worked. I don't believe I've ever worked with Shikara. No, and Interspecies, I'm not even sure I'm familiar with them. But now you piqued my curiosity. I might have to Google that.
Yeah, you have to look them up.
Okay, but no, it sounds like I would have been a natural fit in a wrestling company called Interspecies Wrestling. I don't know why I never got the call.
The more I look at these companies, I think, I don't think they'd be here without Shark Boy in their life first. So just curious about that one.
Thank you.
Halloween is upon us. As a masked wrestler, was that your go-to Halloween costume every year, or who does Shark Boy go as on Halloween?
I went as Shark Boy one year for Halloween. When I first started doing the character, I thought, well, this is easy. I got everything right here. And, I didn't think anybody, I hadn't been on, I might have been on MTV at that point, the True Light show, but I don't think I'd been on, I don't think I'd been on the WCW Saturday Night yet. So I thought, well, I can go out wearing this and I won't have any, any problems. So I went out wearing Shark Boy, and I got first couple comments. I got, oh, cool costume. Wow, those boots look like real wrestling boots, and so, oh, thank you, and then somebody comes up to me out of nowhere and goes, the real Shark Boy's bigger. And I guess they'd seen me on a local show or something and said, you're not him. That's the real Shark Boy. Doesn't look like that. So I thought that was really funny. Yeah. Who do I go as now? I just go as the parent walking around with the little guys dressed up. I don't really dress up.
Sure.
It's the one day I don't have to wear a mask.
There you go. Well, Shark Boy, man, I thank you so much for joining us today. I know we barely scraped the surface, but in the world of the internet, is there a place where fans can keep up with you today? Yeah, my website is sharkboy.net. That's the best place to find out about any shows I may have coming up or anything like that. You can also get merchandise there. And then I'm on Twitter. @SharkBoyNet is my Twitter handle. So those are the best spots to find me online. And yeah, we'll do this again sometime, and we'll do another interview at some point down the road. And anything you didn't get to ask today, we'll do this again. All right. All right, AWP fans, listen up.
Yeah, we're talking to you.
We are a listener-supported podcast.
The show is created by wrestling fans for wrestling fans.
Each week we bring to you one-of-a-kind interviews with pro wrestling's greatest superstars from yesterday and today.
We do this at no cost to you, the fans. Here are a few ways where you can support us and give us our love.
It's very simple. Rate us and review us. Go over to iTunes or Stitcher, Player FM, TuneIn, whatever it is. Just tell all your friends about it.
Follow us on all that social media stuff. Whatever you kids are doing these days. You can give us a like, follow us, a poke, a point, a German suplex if you're Brock Lesnar, whatever you want.
Lastly, if you are an ultimate AWP fan, head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/Another Wrestling Podcast and purchase an official AWP shirt. There's more than one.
Thanks for supporting us and enjoy the show, bitches.
So for today's topic, Credo, let's talk a little bit about NXT. And a lot of people have been talking about how NXT has lost its shine. What do you think?
Oh, man, I think it's a great topic because we are in that new era phase. I feel like ever since they heard their own little draft, they gutted NXT. We saw Finn Balor leave. We saw Bayley leave. A few others, Nia Jax, yada, yada, yada. But with that being said, with this draft and the division split, what's left in NXT? NXT has pretty much turned into a TNA 2.0 or something to the effect, because you have Samoa Joe, you have Bobby Roode, you have Austin Aries. There's a few more maybe on the way. But yeah, a lot of their top guys in there right now are former TNA talent and only TNA talent that they've ever been. They really haven't been in the WWE universe before.
Well, the main rosters have always been in flux. We've always had issues with gaps and this and that. And NXT has gone through this before. When Kevin Owens left and we had Sami Zayn hurt, we were worried about who was going to carry the torch. And we have a Finn Balor who carried that torch. And then we had a Bayley who had to carry that torch when we had the Women's Revolution. So I fully expect, and they've done a good job of this historically, for them to get the talent there and really get them going.
Yeah, even Eric Young, man, he's debuting with this new insanity thing, this little sanity gimmick or whatnot. We'll see, but it to me, I don't know. NXT was definitely the must-watch show every week. Now, honestly, man, I'm almost 2 weeks behind sometimes.
Yeah, I have not watched in a few weeks.
I'm trying to keep up with the new SmackDown live every week, because before I'm watching Raw live. That's what I'm doing, and then SmackDown was recorded on Tuesdays, and then we'd see it on Thursdays or Fridays. Even before that, too, they keep switching days. But now it's Raw live, SmackDown live, and now the next night I just don't want, because TNA does tape a few shows in advance, so they'll have like one live and then tape, and then live, tape, whatever. But still, I don't find myself having to watch it live.
You're a lot like me. I know you watch a lot of TV, and sometimes you get behind and you have to do the whole binge watch thing. So NXT, when it's not like the greatest product, we have parts where I don't watch for a couple of weeks until the roster starts becoming a little bit more interesting. And it's a shame because you know what? Honestly, the roster is very, very good. You still have a Shinsuke Nakamura. You still have a Bobby Roode. You still have an Austin Aries, for God's sakes. These are all talented guys. And I'm wondering how many of these guys can we actually put on the main roster. Some of these people are no spring chicken. And you know who I really feel sorry for, believe it or not, is Asuka. She has nobody to work with.
I think that's the problem too with a lot of this stuff is that, and I think a lot of companies do this too, is that they build it around one guy. And off topic a little bit, you have like Seth Rollins, built, gets injured. Who's our number one guy now? So you have to build like a few number one guys. Even though the one person has the championship, we still need to see that building going on underneath it, because if somebody falls, gets injured, is out for whatever certain amount of time, we don't have anybody left. So
let's be honest. Somebody like an Asuka, they usually do not leave NXT until they drop that title. Who on that roster, who is she going to drop the fucking title? Maybe Ember Moon?
I know. And
down the road, we still have to build her up.
Exactly, and that's the thing. She just debuted. She's awesome, but that's the thing. Yeah, she just debuted, and that's the thing. Is like they have Liv Morgan. She's had a few matches here and there, but they never really built her up. Like, a lot of these people just wait in the wings to get built up. And you don't really have anything.
Who I always forget about when we talk about NXT, and it's a shame because he's so talented, is Tommy. I always forget about him.
Yep, man. And that's the thing is, they have a lot of these guys. They just need to have like they need at least a top 3 for each show of like this guy, and this guy are our top guys. We got to work on them. And now with Raw having their top guys, SmackDown having theirs, NXT needs to have theirs. We have Shinsuke, who beat Finn. I think he was kind of the right place, right time for him, because if he didn't win it, and without keeping it on Joe anymore, who would have won the NXT championship?
Well, you know what? There's a couple of guys I could have seen. I could have seen them putting it on Bobby Roode only debuted on that pay-per-view. But, I mean, we've had an Austin Aries. I could have seen them keeping Baron Corbin down there for a little bit and giving him a title reign.
That's why I'm surprised with him. I feel like he moved up too
really
early.
quick. And, I mean, I know they wanted to give him that rub because of that Andre the Giant Memorial bullshit tournament. Yeah. But, I mean...
What has it been doing for him lately?
Exactly. He's been doing jobs to who?
Yeah.
Jack Swagger? You're jobbing to Jack Swagger? Stop it.
And that's the thing is that, I think it's the rebuilding phase for NXT. A lot of names went out fast that didn't have enough chance to stick around and put some guys over, So that's the thing. Like you said, Asuka, some of the other names with her, there's one girl, Aaliyah, that we saw in Battleground, her getting her character. Mm-hmm. Billie Kay from Australia. We talked about her in the Australia, the comment. Mandy Rose, who is actually from our hometown area in Westchester. She's from nearby. She's not too far away from, like 20 minutes by, I believe, somewhere down in Westchester. I forget the exact town, Yorktown or something like that. She's from that area. Mandy Rose. So she's our little hometown hero, if you will. But she literally just debuted 2 weeks ago, and honestly, she was from Tough Enough, she was from the Tough Enough. She didn't win. And what's funny is that they actually let the girl who did win the championship. They released her. What do you call it? I can't think of her name.
Yeah, because she was so unimportant. That's why we forgot her name. Don't even look her up. She's a scrub. Don't look that bitch up, please. She was terrible. She couldn't cut a promo. She showed her heart in one episode, and it was just so happened to be the right one where there was really nobody left to battle her.
She's our guest next week, though. So.
Oh, fuck. No, you know what drives me nuts about NXT 2 right now is we've had Ciampa and Gargano. Why are they not on the main roster, either as a tag team or in the cruiserweight division? Because they had arguably the best match in that division, in that classic, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing is, like, some of these guys are still lingering, and I don't know if they're just lingering to help build future stars or whatnot. And Samoa Joe, man, he's about to chalk up 2 years in NXT.
Yeah, he needs to move up.
He's done, especially with what he's doing right now with the whole Shinsuke thing. I think after he fights him at NXT, I think we're going to see Samoa Joe finally move up because he's at the point where he doesn't need NXT anymore.
Where does he fit best, Raw or SmackDown, in your opinion?
I would say Raw. I would put him on Raw. I would not put him on SmackDown.
I have to put him on SmackDown.
You would put him on SmackDown?
You know why?
Why is that?
Well, a friend of ours always told me that he actually, I don't know if he broke in the business or he trained when he got his start with Cena. So there's a nice little story, a little history that they could build off of that. And I think that's something that a lot of people would enjoy because Samoa Joe is no bitch. You know, he's a big man. He's a bad man. And Cena is, you know, never say give up, never quit, none of that bullshit. And you know what?
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
I think they're saving Samoa Joe to beat Braun Strowman. He's going to be.
Come on, no. No,
that's it. That's a WWE fan thinking. They got your thinking, and then they got that.
A full-fledged boner just went right back down.
Braun Strowman. That's it. But regardless, I mean, what we're talking about is NXT. Has it lost its linger, if you will? Now, don't get me wrong. If NXT is coming to town, Kuter, if they're coming back to Poughkeepsie, I'm going to go to it.
Of course.
I'm going to go. I'm not going to be like, they're back. It's not like TNA hate. It's not X-Pac heat. You know, it's definitely just it's just that rebuilding era. You know
what it is?
Rebuilding phase.
When all my other favorite TV shows go on that midwinter break,
yeah,
I'll be sure to tune back in on Wednesdays. Just saying, because my Hulu account will be empty. There'll be nothing popping up saying I got to watch. Like, you know what? I'm going to have to just watch a little NXT, baby.
Now, well, I'm going to tell you briefly because we talked about it. Because now NXT is technically the developmental brand. They're still developing their characters. And it's not 100% these characters are going to make it to the main roster without a few tweaks. The guys, like I said, Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe's. What is the point of having them down there? I mean, granted, I know they're probably there to put the future talent to help build them up a little bit.
That's part of it.
But I would feel like they would be good in small doses. Like, okay, Samoa Joe, you're good for like 6 months, and then move Samoa Joe out there. Just like let him come in and then let him go out.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
No,
as great as Samoa Joe is, he has done his best work down in NXT. He really has. They've really developed him as something that we have not seen in years.
Yeah.
A dominant, badass heel who takes no shit, takes no prisoners, and that's what a lot of these guys need. Like Bobby Roode is getting a great character built around him, the whole glorious thing.
Yeah.
He's got that Ric Flair look. Austin Aries, he's a great talent. What do we have for him right now in terms of a character? That's why Itami is doing so well right now. He's kind of got a little bit of an aura around him. He's got a little bit of a character building around him. Listen, a lot of these guys, that's probably their job, and maybe their only job is to help get other people over. Like Austin Aries, let's be honest, he's a little pit bull. He's a sawed-off little bastard.
Yeah.
But if he was to make the main roster, I would honestly only want to see him in the Cruiserweight division because he's a small guy. He's shorter than me, for Christ's sake.
Well, that's the thing is, how long do these guys stick around when they come in? Because now, you know, if TNA does fold and they get branded into something, what else? Who's going to say that they're not going to release a lot of these guys because they probably just can't afford having this in-depth roster like whatever. We don't know what the future holds for them, but is all of TNA going to go to NXT?
No, definitely not. That's why NXT is so great. That's why it's so great. We have half talent that's being developed, and we have half veterans.
Yeah.
And I'm sure these veterans are getting paid some decent money as compared to what the actual developmental guys are getting paid.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, like I said, it's a rebuilding phase. A lot of things are coming up. They got to still, you know, well, that's the thing we lose a lot about is that it's still developmental. I think a lot of people are holding it to that same tier of, hey, it was at one point. It was where I was tuning into this more than, you know, SmackDown or Raw.
Absolutely.
So
now SmackDown has become must-see TV where NXT is taking a backseat because it needs to be redeveloped because we have, like you said, you took the cornerstones out.
Yeah.
That roof is caving in.
We were spoiled. We were pretty much spoiled with a huge roster.
You know what? We need to be spoiled once in a while.
Yeah, but I guess you have to go back to the end of the day and say, hey, it's still developmental. And it really, truly can't be better than the main show sometimes. So they do have to build some stars down there, and that's the point, I guess. It's to build the stars down there. So we can't forget that. I'm just still curious of keeping a lot of these TNA stars down there for too long. That's all.
No, you know what? I mean, we're talking about developmental. And when I'm looking at this picture of Mandy Rose, I got something developing on her. Oh my God.
That's the thing. She should have won. She definitely should have won.
Miz was right. She's hot. And she should win only because she's hot. But you know what? She had that match. I was it on NXT? You know what? I briefly caught.
Yeah, I just watched it the other day. I finally caught it.
I did see her on. She's not bad.
She isn't. She's a lot better than what you would have thought she would for somebody who coming from like an outside kind of thing.
No, I believe she was wrestling Ember Moon too.
Yeah.
So I mean, she held her own against somebody who was obviously very well developed.
Definitely, yeah. And she's definitely making her time down there. Unlike I can say anything about the Yeti, who has yet to be seen.
Right. A lot of people actually thought that she was just going to be a little bit of a scrub and she was going to get fired in a little bit. But obviously, she's put in the work. She's got some NXT matches. I'm actually pulling for her, man. She showed me something, so I'd like to show her something too.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think about out there? What do you guys? What do you say about NXT? Is it in that rebuilding era? How long will it be? That must-see TV again. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I love NXT. I don't hate it. I'm just saying it's definitely lost that charm a little bit. There's definitely that charm missing of, Kevin Owens. We got lucky with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, and they're all gone now.
Here's another question for you.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't been watching the episodes as of late. I mean, we've been peeking here and there. Like, I haven't watched full episodes. Will you watch the live pay-per-view?
NXT?
Yeah.
For sure. I would definitely I love actually watching their pay-per-views too because once again they're short and sweet, unlike the 4-hour, 5-hour epics we'll get from WWE to where especially when it's combined rosters, it's a short, 2-hour pay-per-view. That's great.
Yeah.
It's short and sweet pay-per-view, so I think it's easier to watch and especially watch live to where man, I don't have to make a whole event day out of this.
God, like WrestleMania. How many hours of TV was that with the pre-show, Credo?
Oh, man, I didn't know what to do. It's like you get locked into a coma and you can't move. You got to watch it.
Dude,
and it's just too much.
Watching WrestleMania from the pre-show all the way to the end was like a shift at work with overtime.
I know. It's like, wait a minute, I should be getting paid for this at a certain point. But regardless, NXT, maybe they could shine up them boots, Johnny, or get the shine box out.
Get your fucking shine box.
This is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to another wrestling podcast in association with Celeb VM. Order a personal video message from me and many other wrestlers and celebrities now. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
That's right. Head on over to celebvm.com/AWP.
Get a personal video message for yourself or as a gift for someone else. For personal connections, shoutouts, birthdays, proposals, weddings, and much more. Enter your details about yourself so the celebrity can record a personal video message, especially for you, including details such as your name, age, birthday, hobbies, or whatever else you include. As soon as the video has been recorded, you'll get an email with your link so you can share it on social media or download and keep it. Celebrities record videos as and when they can, usually within 2 weeks. But if you want a video for a specific date and it does not look like it will arrive in time, you can cancel it and get an instant refund at the click of a button. There are hundreds of celebrities to choose from and many more joining every day. Search by category or genre. Buy a gift voucher, get updates and offers, and encourage your favorite celebrities to join so they can connect with fans in a fun and unique way. Raise money for their charities and much more. So order your video now for yourself or for someone else.
Celebrity video messages and another wrestling podcast team up. Be sure to head on over to celebvm.com/AWP. This weekend is Hell in a Cell.
Another pay-per-view, thank God.
Ever since this brand split, it threw me off guard. I really didn't think these pay-per-views would have been this close to each other. But it's like every other week, like as soon as you have a pay-per-view, you're off a week and then you have another pay-per-view. And I don't think I'm used to that, but it's a little overwhelming. But regardless, let's talk a little bit about Hell in a Cell and what we think is going to happen this weekend. So there's a lot of matches. It's the Raw exclusive pay-per-view. Right off the bat, the cruiserweights are being treated like divas now because they can't even give them solo matches. So we're just going to put all the cruiserweights on one match. We're going to have a 3-on-3 match. Sin Cara, Lince Dorado, and Cedric Alexander versus Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, and Arya Daivari.
Wow.
Yeah. Can't we just have a one-on-one match? Does it need to be 3-on-3? Like, I feel like they're doing what they did to the divas.
Yeah. It's so sad. And all right, here's the question. What do I expect is going to happen? Sin Cara is going to, botch like 5 or 6 moves. Lince Dorado is going to get pissed off at him and kick his ass. Cedric Alexander is going to steal the show. Drew Gulak, who I absolutely think is awesome, just needs to choke somebody out with that Dragon Sleeper. End scene.
There you go. Simple enough. I love the cruiserweights, but I feel like ever since the Classic, they're trying, but at the same time, I feel like they don't really get it. Like, they don't need to change the whole ropes to purple every time they're in a match. Just keep them part of the show, but just make them their own division. And
it's what's funny too is we've said about the women's division on Raw is that they haven't been able to build a rivalry outside of the title. They're doing the exact same thing with the cruiserweights. They're giving them 2 matches a week, and one obviously has to involve the title, but we're not building that next guy after Brian Kendrick. So who's after Kendrick? We'll never know because you're not building a feud for a number 1 contender afterwards. So
you said it right there, man. And we'll see what happens. But once again, I hope they figure out what to do with the cruiserweights because I feel like they're gonna fall into that dark cloud of what the divas fell into.
There you go.
But hey, Bayley has a match. She's going to be facing Dana Brooke. What are your thoughts on this whole thing? I feel like there's not a lot of build-up for any of these matches except for the triple main event.
All right. Poor Bayley, first of all. She has to wrestle Dana Brooke because Bayley is a great talent. And I felt bad because I saw that match. Or was it a match or was it I saw them together in the ring on Raw, and they were just getting – I don't know if it was booed, but there was also some chance of this is boring, and I'm just like, oh, God, poor Bayley. Yeah. And this doesn't look good for her because you should be able to carry anybody. And unfortunately, Bayley seems to be the kind of girl who needs a good dance partner.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel bad, but you know what, Sasha Banks, I haven't seen her had a bad match with anybody.
Definitely. Well, hey, this is outside the women's championship, so there's still a lot of other women on Raw. You'll be surprised, but you don't realize it because you never see them. Because once again, they're almost falling into that same category. They don't know what to do with the women outside of the championship. So hopefully,
maybe Emelina will bring us some change.
There you go. Oh, man. Moving right along, Cooter, because I know we don't really have to stick around on these too long since we're going to be doing them every other week. But Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, formerly known as the Bullet Club, now known as the Buried Club, versus Big Cass and Enzo Amore. Cooter, man, ever since the Bullet Club came in, they were dominant, they were strong, and then they just started to fade away. Then they split them up with the draft, and they should have put them on SmackDown with AJ, but they kept them on Raw. And, at one point I thought, this is going to be it. This is it. This is going to be the put. Like, I keep waiting, and like, we have to keep the tag belts on the New Day because we have to beat a stupid record. But meanwhile, you have a great team like Gallows and Anderson, and they keep wasting them. What is going on?
They've been doing jobs to everybody, and you know what? Let's be honest. Big Cass and Enzo are fan favorites, but they're not exactly getting some big victories either. No, so, I mean, this is basically a throwaway tag match. Loser of this match becomes the bigger jobber. Moving along.
That's it. What's sad about this is that both of these teams should have
great
beat
teams.
And they should have beaten a New Day. When Enzo and Cass debuted, they should have went with that momentum and put the belts right on them. Because that's still then. New Day is fading. They're still fading to me. And they didn't do it. Because why? Because I guess they just want to beat that stupid Demolition record. And then now with Gallows and Anderson, I figured they would have gave them the belts at SummerSlam. But no, they're beating around the bush. And Creative doesn't know what to do with these guys. You have one team that's over as fuck. And then you have another team who is over as fuck across the world. And it's like, come on, like, what? They just don't know what to do. I'm really hating Creative on Raw with this, especially with the usage of both of these teams. So I think, I love Enzo and Cass, but I think Gallows and Anderson really need this win.
Oh, yeah. There's just no question about it. They both need this win.
Yeah.
Everybody involved. We should have we should put this match to a draw so nobody loses steam. How about that?
There you go.
It was, you know what? No, honestly, I would love to see a half-hour match between these two and it go to a draw. When's the last time you saw, that 60-minute Broadway for a match that just goes to a draw because nobody won? That would be cool. That would further the program. Let's go to a 20-minute draw or a half-hour draw because nobody could win.
Yeah.
And then let's do it again. Let's build these teams up because right now they're in the fucking toilet.
That's pretty much summed it up. Well, let's keep climbing that cage, shall we? Because we're getting on to our triple main event soon. The Raw Cruiserweight Championship with T.J. Perkins versus Brian Kendrick, a rematch of the original championship match. And I don't know. Do you think they're going to move that belt? Is the Cruiserweight Championship going to be a belt that moves around fast because they have so many guys and they have one division on one show?
Oh, Credo, I have a family, and I really need you to let me talk about this first. Could you just let me win, please? Please let me. What the fuck was that booking? Who thought of that shit? Really? This could be my last chance. Could you please let me win, TJ? Get the fuck out of here. I don't even want to watch this match now just because of how it's being booked. I had such high hopes for this division, and little by little, they've been giving me blue balls. Like, seriously, just finish me off.
That's it. And Brian Kendrick looks incredible compared to when he was in the WWE years ago. So he's at his peak. I think they need to give Kendrick the championship. I think just move this belt around a little bit and then keep it away from T.J. Perkins as much as possible. And then have that later on at like WrestleMania or something to where Brian Kendrick won't even give him a rematch. He just keeps fighting all these other guys or something. They definitely need something intriguing with this championship match to keep it going because, like I said, the pre-show has like pretty much the whole Cruiserweight roster on it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they further this feud, or is it going to be the end of the feud come Sunday? So regardless, we're moving right along. We're going to climb that cage into the tag team title match, The New Day versus Cesaro and Sheamus. Now, Cooter, if Cesaro and Sheamus win, I'm going to punch a baby. I'm going to punch...
I'm going to punch a baby?
Not my baby, but just somebody else's baby. Because, I'll be so pissed off because you're not going to give Enzo and Cass the straps. You're not going to give Anderson and Gallows the straps. But you have 6 tag teams on the roster, yet we're going to throw Sheamus and Cesaro together and then give them the tag team championships. I will be so pissed, Cooter. I will be so pissed.
Yeah, but, would you rather see that or would you rather see the New Day beat Demolition, the non-Hall of Famers record?
Oh, that's tough.
It's a shit sandwich either way. But which shit sandwich would you rather eat?
Yeah, I mean, but
you gotta take the good with the bad, buddy. You gotta take the good with the bad.
I don't know what to do with this because, I love Cesaro. I don't care too much about Sheamus anymore. The New Day, I'm over. They should have lost a long time ago. But if you give it to Cesaro and Sheamus, they hold on to the championships maybe for a little bit, then they have to split or something. I don't know how to book it. I'm stuck.
I love Cesaro and Sheamus together. I totally disagree with you with this. I mean, it was such a swerve how they got thrown into this match as opposed to getting a singles championship after that long best of 7, which I absolutely hated. But then that last match really won me over, and it made sense. It was something different. We've seen something different. It's going somewhere. I would, some records were just not meant to be broken, and I don't think the Great Demolition's record, should be broken. It shouldn't. It should stay as sacred as Bruno's record. It should stay as sacred as the Honky Tonk Man's record. I'm just being a dick. I know. I'm just saying.
Well, regardless, we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I don't really I don't want anybody to win this match. I don't know what happens, but I don't know. I think the New Day is going to continue on as the WW blah 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 whatever. Now, Cooter, to our first main event of the triple main event show. Now, the United States Championship, which is better known as the Mid-Card Championship, is now a main event championship at the Hell in the Cell. So they're going to be in the Cell, Roman versus Rusev. What are your thoughts? Who's going to win? And how is this going to set the precedence? Or if this even is the first Hell in the Cell match, how are they going to set the bar?
What, you don't think this isn't going to close the show?
I'm sure Vince wants to, but other people are saying no.
You know, I'm actually fine either way. Whoever wins this match, I really don't. This has got to be one of the few times where I'm not really invested in either guy, like as a fan favorite. It's been a really great build-up. I'm looking forward to the match because there's just certain guys that I feel that Roman Reigns works well with, and Rusev just happens to be one of them.
No, yeah, definitely. He's definitely. He's helped him, Roman get out of the main event picture. They've been having a great feud back and forth, and it's been a breath of fresh air because Roman Reigns hasn't been chasing the WWE Championship. He hasn't been in that main event spotlight, so he got bumped back a little bit. He got the U.S. Championship, and they've been doing great fighting each other. They've been holding their own, and it's just funny that it's considered one of the main events.
And that's been good for him. I mean, if he can build up a good string of good feuds, because a lot of people are behind this feud. They're invested in it. So if Roman can string a few of those together where he has a good feud with Rusev and then we'll bring somebody else on and it's intriguing to the fans, maybe they'll start to get behind him more, and then maybe he could work as a main eventer. But he has to keep doing good work, because I'll give you an example. Something that I liked about on Raw this week was Roman Reigns cut a promo, but it was one of those backstage ones, like when we were kids and we would watch it on the weekends. You'd see the guy facing a jobber, and then his opponent would be cutting a promo during the match. Like, this is what so-and-so had to say prior. He can read off a teleprompter. He doesn't have to be in the ring, wasting time, coming down with an entrance, so on and so forth. So it's been good. I mean, these little changes and tweaks that they've done with shorter backstage segments that aren't like skits, it's been good for the talent to help get them over. And I think this has been good for Roman. He just needs to keep it going.
All right. Well, my one question for you, which I'm going to ask you on the next two cage matches, the Hell in the Cell matches. I'm going to call them a cage because they're still a freaking cage. My first question, or this is going to be the same question. What happens in this cell match? Does a big spot happen? Do we see blood in this one? Or what's the big moment that's going to happen out of this cell match?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm going to say this match is going to have the big spot. Something either off the cage, off the top, not like Shane McMahon kind of thing, but something big. I think maybe even going through the cage kind of a thing, to where Roman spears him through the cage, maybe.
No, you can't do that, because this isn't going to go before Sasha and Charlotte. It's not going to go before. You can't have any damage to the cage.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking personally is it's just going to be brutal. I mean, they're just going to use the cage, whatever's inside. I mean, they're really just going to go all out.
Okay.
I don't see any really massive, huge spots until Seth Rollins gets in there, because he's the adrenaline junkie. I don't really see them having that big, huge spot where you're just going to be like, oh, fuck. And, I don't think they want to take the wind out of the sails for the other two matches, especially if this is going to be the first of the three.
Definitely. Well, we don't know what it's going to be, so we'll have to see what happens. But now my question to you is, when they announce this match, is the crowd going to boo? Because the women's match is going to be the Hell in the Cell match next, I'm guessing, to where that's not going to be the main event, because they're going to put the championship in the main event. So now when this is announced as the second to last match, or whenever it is on the card, do they boo because it's not the main event?
Ooh, that's a good question. That is a great question.
If you have a lot of marks there, they're going to be wanting this as the main event. And, if it's not,
it's Sasha Banks'
turn the
hometown. It is in Boston. Ooh. It's a hot crowd. It is a very vocal crowd. It's one of those marked towns where we have loud, rabid fans who just keep it going, man. Yep. They just don't stop. So I really feel that if Sasha and Charlotte doesn't close the show, I think you're going to get some boos if they come on. Yeah, I really feel that way.
And now, okay, so this is the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match. What do you do to outshine any other cell match? Or, I'm not saying we have to do a Mick Foley off the top, but I mean, what could these women do to make a lasting impression? Because I mean, they're gonna have to use that cell some way or another. I don't know. There's something they're gonna have to do that's different, right?
I got just the two things that would really impress me. And you know what those two things are?
What's that?
One, if Sasha Banks wins, she doesn't cry again, because I'm tired of seeing someone who claims to be the boss cry after every title match or every time she faces one of the 4 horsewomen, because she cries like she has Braun Strowman's fist up her ass, and I can't stand it. The other thing that's going to happen is Daddy Flair is going to teach Charlotte how to use a gig, and she's going to hide it in her bra.
So this goes back to my question. This is the match you think we're going to see blood?
I think we're going to see blood in this match. I really do.
All right.
I don't think they want to see 2 women bleed backstage, but I think Daddy's going to get in Charlotte's ear and be like, let me show you how to use the gig. Let me show you.
There you go. Charlotte Flair using the gig. So that's the thing, too.
She's going to blade the mole on her chin.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you think about it, these women, they don't have that body mass, that weight on them to, like, break a cage door or go through the – you know what I mean? So seeing that happen with this kind of a match isn't going to be believable. So, I would have to agree with you that this is going to be the blood match.
Some of the stuff that they do that impresses the fans is a lot of that, especially with Charlotte Flair and her like moonsault when she'll do it outside. You can't do that in this match because it's limited space outside of the ring.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to have to bring a different element to really get that match over.
At the end of the day, Sasha Banks or Charlotte?
I think they have to give Sasha the win in her hometown. Yeah. They really do, because
it's too much back and forth with this. You know what I mean? With it was Sasha.
Well, that's the thing. If Charlotte wins the match, then Sasha has a rematch clause and blah. Let's end this feud now and let's save it for later down the road, because I think we need a new contender, because like you're saying, we can't build a feud outside of the title, but the title picture we have right now is getting a little old and a little stale. So let's bring somebody up. Let's bring a Bayley. Let's bring a Nia Jax. Let's put Dana Brooke at the bottom of the card and not give her fucking TV time anymore. Let's get Emelina's hot ass up in there. I mean, let's do something different, because I'm just tired of seeing these two in the ring. I mean, it's magical, and this should be the end all be all, because Hell in a Cell has always been the end of feuds, and this needs to end this feud.
Definitely. All right, well, now to our last main event, or which should be the main event, the Universal Championship. Kevin Owens, who's the Universal Champion, versus Seth Rollins.
I think they have to give Sasha the win in her hometown. Yeah. They really do, because
it's too much back and forth with this. You know what I mean? With it was Sasha.
Well, that's the thing. If Charlotte wins the match, then Sasha has a rematch clause and blah. Let's end this feud now and let's save it for later down the road, because I think we need a new contender, because like you're saying, we can't build a feud outside of the title, but the title picture we have right now is getting a little old and a little stale. So let's bring somebody up. Let's bring a Bayley. Let's bring a Nia Jax. Let's put Dana Brooke at the bottom of the card and not give her fucking TV time anymore. Let's get Emelina's hot ass up in there. I mean, let's do something different, because I'm just tired of seeing these two in the ring. I mean, it's magical. And this should be the end all be all, because Hell in a Cell has always been the end of feuds, and this needs to end this feud.
Definitely. All right, well, now to our last main event, or which should be the main event, the Universal Championship. Kevin Owens, who's the Universal Champion, versus Seth Rollins. Has Kevin Owens been a good champion for you so far? Because, I mean, his first championship reign as a main event champion was the Universal Championship, so he never really had the quote-unquote WWE Championship. So, you know, with the whole fallout with Finn Balor, you know, Owens got it, and he carried the ball. But I don't know, how do you feel about him holding this Universal Championship, or is it going to go back to Seth Rollins? I don't know. It's going to be tough.
Listen, we need to get Seth Rollins out of the title picture, because ever since he's been back, he's basically been in the title match for every pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. All right, let's get him out of the title picture. Let's get some fresh faces in there. Like, Kevin Owens has been fantastic. Unfortunately for him, he really has been outshined by Chris Jericho, which I don't think anybody saw coming, but it has been such great TV and been so entertaining on so many levels. I mean, Chris Jericho can, have a segment with anybody and just steal the show. I mean, even when he did the whole thing with Strowman this week, when he found his list and he says, I don't see Sami Zayn's name on there. And Chris is like, it's on page 4. And you know what? You're going on the list for touching my stuff. It's fantastic stuff, man.
Now, you said it right there, man. Chris Jericho. Do you think Chris Jericho could cost Kevin Owens the championship to where they feud? Or I don't know. Because then you're writing Kevin Owens out of the main event too soon, maybe? Or it's tough to call. It's tough to book.
If they do that and Chris Jericho causes Kevin Owens the title, which is obviously a possibility because they have that friction between them right now, then your next pay-per-view is going to be another Seth Rollins headlined, and it's going to be a triple threat because Owens has, his rematch clause, obviously.
Oh, these rematches, man.
Oh, these rematch clauses are just so stupid.
Yeah, if you lose, you lose. There's no rematch.
I can see the writing on the wall right now. It's going to be a triple threat, and then Owens is going to be, whoa, why don't I get a singles one-on-one?
Yeah.
You're trying to screw me fully. And, I love Kevin Owens, but unfortunately, you could see how they're writing for him, and it just sucks for him because he's so much better than what they write for him. He makes fucking chicken soup out of chicken shit.
I feel like, it was Triple H's call saying, hey, give the belt to Owens. He's good. And then I feel like it was Vince's call to say, well, let's team him up with Jericho. Let him help him break him into the main event or something. I don't know, something stupid like that to where I could see it was Triple H's call to give him the belt, and then it was Vince's call to put Jericho with him to just carry him along. And, like I said, I've loved it. I don't hate any of these guys. But like I said, I think he's kind of outshining what his championship reign would have been, if you just let Kevin Owens do his thing. He's the master on the mic. It's just too much mixing it in with Jericho, I guess. But we'll see.
What's interesting is you mentioned somebody, and I've totally forgotten about him. You've mentioned Triple H. Is it a possibility that he gets involved, and maybe that's how we get Rollins out of the title picture, and we keep him up in a main event status against Triple H? Because Goldberg and Brock Lesnar are going to sell tickets, but
Triple H versus Seth Rollins at the Survivor
for
Series
another match. Because let's be honest, with the way we have these 3 Survivor Series matches, Raw versus SmackDown, that ties up a lot of talent.
Yeah,
and that's only 3 matches. So we need maybe another headliner for Raw, and I really have a feeling that could be Seth Rollins and Triple H, because I really feel like these shows are going to put their champions in the Survivor Series team matches.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be any title matches, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but if we need main event, you got Goldberg and Lesnar, but you kind of need like a co-main event that's, but we don't need a triple main event, but we could have a co-main event, or at least an undercard, like another big name match that isn't, the traditional Survivor Series match.
Definitely.
Credo, you realize we're going to have a 10-on-10 match because one of them is the tag team. Yep. I wonder how they're going to work that if say your partner
definitely has to get out.
Out. So, that's going to be cool.
Definitely. Well, we'll be talking about that in like a week and a half, I guess, since it's going to be like right around the corner. But, man, another pay-per-view. We gave some of our thoughts on it. Triple main event, I don't think that was, worth the whole fuss it was worth about. Just stop. The last match is the main event at the end of the day for me.
There you go. Let's do it. Let's see what happens.
We're going to do it again next week, Kuter. But, just like the Cleveland Cavaliers did, they bring in the Dead Man for their opening game.
Oh, God.
How do you top that?
What would have topped that is if the Knicks would have actually won that game. My God. But I saw that T-shirt that Kyrie Irving had, man. Did you see this?
Yeah.
The ankle taker. Oh, my God. Because of his crossover. That is absolute genius. But The Undertaker is a mark for the Cavs or LeBron, because LeBron was wearing the Undertaker T-shirt. He should have showed up, not in his ring attire. He should have walked in there with a LeBron James jersey to show him the same respect.
Dead man walking.
Put that LeBron James jersey on and hobble your ass in there with your crutches, Taker. God damn it.